All right, how's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us. This is the first of three workshops that are being hosted by the NSF Aspire AI program, as well as the California Learning Labs Elevate program. Joining us all today, myself, you can call me Albert, a professor in the computer science department, my colleague, Anjana from the mathematics department, as well as CSUB's Information Security O<silence>cer, Doug Cornell. So, just a very important note for everything we're about to talk about today. We're going to show you a lot of examples for how you can use ChatGPT to improve your work productivity, particularly for emails and assessment and perhaps other applications. All of what you're going to see assumes that you're using the ChatGPT EDU platform. This is the only platform that we currently have authorized for use for work purposes. Please do not be using other platforms for student data. Doug can explain a little more when we get around to his part of the presentation. A quick way to check to make sure that you're compliant with policy, you would have to be fully logged in, not the free version. If you just go to ChatGPT, make sure you log in using your SSO, and you can confirm that with the CSUB logo, as well as this other footnote here that sort of explains that OpenAI is not using your messages to train its models. All right, and that's Doug can explain a little bit more. So, agenda for today. We went over an introduction. I'm going to go over a bit about resources for prompt engineering and how to effectively use ChatGPT. I'll talk a little bit about AI chatbots and how you can use it to improve emails. And then I'll hand it over to Anjana, who will explain an automatic assessment system using custom GPTs. Then we'll hand it over to Doug for a discussion on security and privacy principles and AI use. And then we'll go into a 30-minute open format Q&A where you can ask him various questions about how IT is handling your data, I guess, if you're interested in that. Just a bit about resources that are available to you. Feel free to take a picture of this slide with your cell phone. We have a lot of videos and a website where we explain how to best use ChatGPT. If you're interested, we can add you to a somewhat private website that'll have instructional videos on all of the items that we're going to talk about today. Now, this is going to be an abbreviated version of an introduction to ChatGPT and how to use it. For depth, please refer to some of these videos. We only have a few minutes, basically. The purpose of the examples you'll see now are to tee up, basically, what people might perceive as high-risk applications of AI that might involve people's personal identifiers and stuff like that, so that you'd have to consider additional, perhaps security or special handling, or particularly what information you're giving ChatGPT, that sort of thing. So we'll get right into it then. So for people that have not used ChatGPT at all for any work-related activity, the one thing you want to think about in terms of your ability to use ChatGPT is that it is actually not a conversation. It is not C3PO. The best advice that I can give you when you're talking to ChatGPT is to not simply start talking to it. The best way to think about it is actually Star Trek. So not Star Wars, not Star Wars, Star Trek. And I don't mean to start any fights with any sci-fi nerds there, but basically, it's the holodeck, basically. So don't treat it as a conversation. Each time you open a new tab, basically what you have is an empty source code or a blank slate where you must program the thing in a natural language before you begin your discussion with it. So, what do I mean by that? So basically, when you start a conversation, it's very important to define what it is that you plan to do, how the students will interact with the chatbot during your activities, or how you yourself as a faculty or staff member intend to interact with the chat. Basically, you're going to tell it what you will say, like what you literally are about to say to it, and what you expect it to say in terms of its formatting, as well as a dump of any relevant information you think it may need to properly perform the task, plus any warnings, strong guardrails for the task, so you don't end up with a weird response or it does something completely wrong. All right. So, what we're going to do now is I'm going to share a conversation with you, which is just a very introductory way that you can apply ChatGPT to this uh, concept of using it. Something simple like writing an email. What is the best practice here? So, following what I'm saying, do not start talking to it. You define the parameters by which the conversation will occur. So I'm following the holodeck example here, where literally become a writing assistant. And what you'll see here are specific items where this stuff is not necessarily required, as you mature in your ability to write good prompts. Um, you don't need these, but these are here to help you brainstorm. It won't affect the program, but basically, I will submit an email. Please reword this email for better clarity and readability. Full context. And this is where, security considerations might come in. I'm starting to share a lot of information about myself and perhaps the inner workings of our university, perhaps personal information. What should I actually be putting in here? Well, anyways, for the sake of this example, I will let Doug ponder all of that. For now, I'm a faculty member of a university, and we are sending this email to student advisees who will be adjusting their schedule. Fix grammar, condense into only a few sentences, highlighting only the essential information. Warnings: the tone of the email should be neutral, friendly, but not too firm. Begin program. And you can see here, it understands basically that it is basically a program that you are coding through natural language. So what I then submit is my draft email, poorly written, etc. I'm a computer programmer. I'm not an English professor. All right. So I definitely need this. Maybe something softer in tone or something. You're taking the wrong class. The correct class is this. Do not take it. It is meant for life science majors, and ChatGPT will comply. So this is best practice, basically. You'll find that a lot of people use ChatGPT to try to cut corners, and honestly, that's where you can get hurt, basically, where it may fail. And you often spend as much time generating the prompt um, for the task as the task itself. But the more time you spend with this, the higher quality your prompts are, the better the better responses you will get. So I'd like to shift the presentation over to my colleague, Anjana, now, who will show you how, if you have developed good prompts, how you may be able to use this for assessment.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'll actually just go through how I have used these things in my classes, and I'll go through a little experiment I did. Right. So in mathematics department, we have this course called Math 3200 Probability Theory. Like, this is a highly theoretical course. And last semester, I did a simple experiment where I taught 2 sections of this Math 3200 Probability Theory class. And I taught one class just the regular way. This is the regular canvas. I gave them the regular PDF files, regular PDF lectures, nothing else. So this is how I conducted one of the sections. I called it the regular section. Then my other section, I taught the complete semester using only custom GPTs only. That means students didn't have access to any of the PDF files or anything. Like, starting from the syllabus was a custom GPT, right? I went through it, like, so if they needed to ask any questions about anything, like, they would go to the syllabus GPT and they would ask questions. And how I conducted this class was, so for an example, I'm teaching this first lesson, what is statistics. I would conduct it in the regular class. Then students would have this custom GPT open in their personal lab computer. So while I'm teaching, if they come across any questions, they would be using this custom GPT to clarify any little doubts they have. So these custom GPTs are built using my lecture notes and the textbook components and like examples and everything. Then some of the other use cases were, for an example, I built for this class, I built something called exam review bot. What I did was this bot had like all the past exams and like everything we have done, all the past exams and things. So when when a student wants to practice for their exam one, they could just simply click on this, build me a practice exam that mirrors Math 3200 exam in breadth and approximate difficulty. It would come up with a bunch of questions that are very similar to the questions that I might ask for exam one. So students can practice, they can tell their answers, and this custom GPT would help them answer those questions and clarify any doubts they have. So then one of the other users, like as Dr. Cruz mentioned, we use these custom GPTs to help students do their homework. Then sometimes I experimented using these custom GPTs for self-assessment as well. So these were not taken to the final grade. These were like bonus point questions and in-class assignments. So what happens here is like all the instructions are embedded to this custom GPT, how this assignment should be conducted. And now, rather like if I give an MCQ, like just a regular MCQ, students would say, okay, C is the correct answer, that's it. But with this custom GPT, I prompted it in a way the student has to provide the correct answer, plus it has to give a correct explanation why he picked answer as B. If both are correct, they would get full points. If not, they would get partial points and they would get more attempts if the answer is incorrect. So these are some of the R tutors, then exam 2 reviews. These are some of the things I built. Then this semester, I'm teaching the same Math 3200 class, but what I'm doing is this time it's a hybrid process. That means I have given them access to the PDF files and the custom GPTs, PDF files and the custom GPTs. And at the end of the day, I just want to compare these three sections and see which method did the best. So this is how I have been using custom GPTs in my classes. This one also, I had to give like very detailed instructions on how it needs to behave. So you are a Math 2200 in-class assignment bot. You create a short uniform mini test and deliver one question at a time and grade strictly. You do not tutor or hint because like this was just an assessment tool, right? So these are the concepts. Again, these are the concepts I wanted to test. Then this is the equality policy. Like every time a student generates an assignment, different students would get different assignments, but the scope stays the same. Okay, it generates questions in this scope. Every student receives the same blueprint. So the values might differ, but the questions still kind of have the same flavor. So it's not unfair among students. So then, so difficulty mix, then how the template should look like. And I'm pretty sure so yeah, total points and like how the grading should work. You can include all these things. Like you can literally ask it to do, okay, give full points if the student has provided the answer and the explanation, and give partial credits if the student has only provided the correct pick or something. Okay, is it good enough, Dr. Cruz? Do you want me to keep on going?
That's it. I'm just curious. Did you you have some very strong guardrails there on exactly the number of questions being asked. Did you encounter it being too nice to the students where it would try to give them extra credit or give them an opportunity to correct one of their incorrect responses?
No. But my students would try to say different stuff to kind of like, get a response. But I think it stayed within the guardrails in most of the cases. I had some of my custom GPTs which didn't behave the same way. Like if I ask it to do it, do not give the.
Oh, thank you.
If I ask it, okay, do not give the full answer, like it would still give the full answer like that. But then I had to tweak it a little bit. But I didn't have any issues with these prompts that I can remember.
Interesting. Yeah, with mine, it would. I told it to give exactly 10 questions, and sometimes if the student was doing too poorly without any guardrails, it would try to give them extra questions to allow them to make up the points. So, anyways, thank you for that. So, I'd like to. So we have a question right now. What about when we use the textbook materials and create cheaper GPTs So,
Chapter GPT.
oh, chapter GPTs. Yeah. So I can answer that quickly. The due to the concept of token window, which is one of the videos, the amount of information any one of these chats can have is extremely limited. So the best practice is indeed to actually have as many chat GPTs as possible covering very fine granularity of topics. In my particular class, I have a chat GPT that goes even beyond chapters and goes down to specific daily chat GPTs. And there is a question about copyright policies. Maybe I'm going to defer to Doug for when he talks about that. That's more security operational stuff, I guess. And maybe we can respond to that in Doug's segment. So let's just transition over now, actually. So we've shown some examples of ChatGPT uses that may involve some extra consideration. So some questions that you need to ask. Based on my segment, I mentioned you want to dump as much context as possible, but is there a limit to what information I should actually be putting in the chat? People's names, my specific position, etc. Or when we are using ChatGPT as a type of assessment, it is now holding a student record. What considerations are there if you intend to do this for your class? So I'd like to hand it over to our Information Security Officer now. Doug, you want to take it away?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Albert, for the opportunity to come and address this group. I hope to make this interactive. I hope you guys all bring some questions, some practical. I want to do this in my class. You want to advance the slide for this one? Those of you who don't know me, I'm the Information Security Officer for the campus. My team and my contact information is up there. If ever you have questions regarding security and privacy about anything related to the campus, please reach out to me and we will try to find you the correct answer. Go ahead and next slide. I stumbled across this quote not that long ago, and it really triggered me on what we're dealing with today. Is human history becomes more and more a race between education and catastrophe. And if you look at that, it's attributed to H.G. Wells for more than 100 years ago now. And this is what we're dealing with today. I want to be very up close, up front before I get started here. My focus is on risk reduction for the campus and not restrictions. I want you all to be able to use all the fun and exciting AI tools in a responsible manner, just to be aware of what you're doing and what the risks are and how we can control those risks. But about a year ago, the CSU opened up the floodgates with providing all the faculty, staff, and students OpenAI and ChatGPT. They didn't have any controls. There were no guidelines in place. They just threw it out there. And like all the many other campuses, we were not fully prepared. We didn't have any clear guidelines. We didn't have any structure around how to use it. We introduced this transformative technology without any roadmap whatsoever for actually using it. And we know that AI tools are being used across the campus every day. And I'll tell you, it just recently shifted. The primary AI tool the campus uses that ITS is observing went from OpenAI to Google Gemini. And that shift just happened about 2 weeks ago. And so we're, as a campus, not even using the same tools that the campus thinks we're using now. And so I want to share with you today some really general, high-level concepts to protect yourself and to protect the campus's data when you're using AI tools on campus. So next slide. I'm going to share with you, these are the top risks when using AI tools. Data security and privacy. What sensitive data are you using? AI tools are like Hoover vacuums. They want to suck up and absorb everything that you send it in your prompts, in your training, in the queries that you're sending, in the data that you're pasting into them to share and have the AI tool work with. It's sucking all that up and it's keeping it for its internal use to train itself on how to get better to answer your questions. And so that is a huge risk when it comes to using AI tools of what data are you feeding it in your prompts and in your large language model trainings. You have to be mindful of the data before you send it out there, because even with California CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, where you have the right to be forgotten, that doesn't hold true with most AI tools. Most of their contracts don't allow you to delete something that you put out there. Once you send it out there, it is out for the world to see and use and consume. So how that data security relates to what you're feeding the tools is really critical. Some of the data that we could be sending out can be managed by or protected by different tools or different privacy concerns. Primarily for this group, FERPA, which is crazy to think about. FERPA was literally written a year or two before I came onto this earth, and we're expecting it to control AI use. That's crazy to think about this outdated guardrails for cybersecurity for such a modern tool set. The next one is legal compliance, legal risk and compliance. I already saw a question about copyright. We'll talk about copyright here. Basically, the short answer is if it's not yours, don't paste it into ChatGPT or any other AI tool. The cybersecurity risks. This one we haven't really seen the effects of. The risk of using an AI tool that hasn't been vetted by the campus, that doesn't have controls in place. The answers that come back to you might contain malware. The tools itself might lack proper security controls on the back end, where attackers are stealing the data from the company that you're sending it to. That is a huge thing today, and we'll take a look at those as well. And the last is the reliability and the quality of the AI tools and the answers that it brings back. They have biased outputs. They can provide inaccurate information. And sometimes it's just hilarious to see some of the responses the AI tools do bring back. That it's programmed not to disappoint. You're not going to use a tool that says, meh, I don't know, go ask somewhere else or ask it a different question. It really, really wants to provide an answer to you, even if it has to make it up. And so you have to be aware that that is a risk, and you need to be able to mitigate and control that risk. So how do you protect yourself? Let's take it to the next slide. I encourage you to only use campus authorized tools. We have contracts in place with a certain set of tools that are out there, and I am fully aware that it is a small subset. It's really ChatGPT, to a lesser extent, Google, Microsoft Copilot, and then I'll share with you where to find that list of authorized tools. But with those tools, we have contracts in place that say they will not use the data to train their tools for everyone else to use. And I will tell you specifically within ChatGPT, the prompts that Albert uses aren't even used to train the responses that I get back, even being in the same company instance of that. And so there adds that level of protection of protecting the data that you put in. So you can be a little more risky with the data that you are providing in campus authorized tools. If a contract doesn't exist, the data security and the privacy compliances protections are not in place. We're contractually obligated with the AI tools to protect our data. We state what they can and can't do with it. We make sure that they have insurance in place when something bad does happen to help remediate a data breach that would cause. And so all of these tools go through the solutions consulting procurement process. If you've not worked with that group, I lead the solutions consulting team. We look at the different contracts, we look at the different tools that are being proposed, and we try to come up with a way to ensure that the data in those are being protected. If you're using an AI tool that you bought on a Pro card, we don't have those protections in place. And so there is a higher risk to the campus for using those tools. Next slide. If you guys listen to one thing that I say today out of this is the slide to pay attention to. If you don't see the little shield at the bottom of OpenAI ChatGPT that says you're logged into our instance, you are training the public model. It is as straightforward as that. Every time that you come into OpenAI ChatGPT, make sure that you are logged in. We have those contractual protections in place only when you're logged into the campus instance. Let me leave any fears and questions you have around ITS or the campus spying on what you're doing. We don't. First of all, I can tell you that there is such a waterfall of data that even if we wanted to keep track, there's just so much data going through there that we don't look at it. We have the contractual protections in place for your privacy at a campus level. So the union contractual protections. ITS is not looking at your prompts, nor do we want to. This is between you and the OpenAI tools. We are not spying on you using these tools. Let me assure you of that. Yes, if a legal case came up, we would be required to come back and dig through that data. And we really don't have any test case for that yet. But that data does live and exist for about 30 days. So for your awareness on that one. But before you start using an AI tool, double check to make sure that you're logged into our instance and that it's not going to cause a problem. Next slide. The next one is your legal protections, and we're going to start with data classification. Hopefully you've all taken your data security and FERPA training. The campus works off of the CSU data classification tools. So level 1 is confidential data, credit card numbers, social security numbers, medical records. No matter what, you never want to put those into any AI tool, even a tool that you have contractual obligations with. It's just too risky. Level 2 data is data classified for internal use. FERPA records, PII, grades, financial aid, student records, student emails. This is a gray area. Oops, I sent that to, I'll only we send that to everyone. This that I just shared in the chat is this policy that we are looking at, the data classification policy that this chancellor's office uses. that obligates us. And so you can go read it on your own for more details. Level 1, don't put it in any AI tool. Level 2, you can use the campus's contractually protected AI tools with some caveats. Level 3 is general data, and that is publicly available data that you're welcome to put into any AI tool. So let's take an example of this one. Dr. Cruz showed an email response being clarified for grammar and readability. But what data did he put in that? Was he copying and pasting something with something student identifiable? So if Bob sends you an email and says he's in your Econ 2 class, and you just copy and paste that response into any AI tool, is that a FERPA violation? What do you think? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Nope, everybody's too scared to guess on this one. If there is identifiable information in there to trace it back to a particular student in a particular class, it's a FERPA record. That you want to be very careful with that. So before you post that into an AI tool, you want to remove that identifiable information before you feed that data up. In public AI tools, general AI tools, things that we don't have a campus contract for, the only data that you should be putting in is level 3 data, general publicly accessible data. And that's the only thing that should be falling into level 3 stuff. Next one, legal. Next slide, Albert. This is a huge thing. Putting data that you don't own into an AI tool. This is critical for everyone to make sure that when you're using campus data, you have the data owner's approval before you use it. Every campus system has a data owner, and you want their approval. If you enter content like books, articles, paywall content, music lyrics, movies, anything proprietary that you don't have the right to share or reproduce, that is a copyright violation. And so there was a question earlier about content from a course. Yes, that is considered a content violation, and you could be in trouble for that one if it comes out. I will tell you, less is more. So if you just put a snippet in, you're probably a lot safer than dumping the entire chapter of a textbook in. And this is happening everywhere today. Just yesterday, the Encyclopedia Britannica announced a lawsuit over OpenAI from their use and training with Encyclopedia Britannica materials. I do see a question there. If I delete a chat in a conversation, is it permanently removed? No, copies, nothing. Chats are still there. Everything still lives. It's when it is fed into an AI tool, it is out there for the world to see. The last thing on this one is violating terms of service and licensing agreements. You got to be careful to make sure that you own the data. This one really comes into question for like research data. You want to make sure that it's your data that you have access to. A lot of times grants specify how you can use the data, and if you can put it into a AI tool or not. And the last thing that I want to share on the legal protections is, as a campus, there is a law out there that was created about 2 years ago called AB 302 that requires us to report any high-risk AI systems that the state of California agencies use. And so if it is making decisions like job, housing, healthcare, grades, we have to report it to the state of California that how we're using it. And so some of our HR tools today are already falling into that one. Next slide, Albert. The next one comes up is the cyber risk. You want to make sure that you trust the company that you're using. We were talking before this agentic AI. There are fun tools out there called Claude now that will do fun robotic things on your behalf, but it is open for anybody to create code for you to drop into your AI tool and connect with. And so you really want to make sure that you're validating whatever tools that you're using as you're going. Next one, and I will wrap up here. Reliability and quality. Double check the work that is coming out of your AI tools. Do not trust it. There are great examples out there, legal cases where lawyers used AI, and AI just made it up. We talked about AI hallucinations. AI doesn't want to disappoint you. It's going to try to come up with an answer, even if it's wrong. So follow up with prompts. Show me your sources. Show me where you got that from, to protect yourself from those AI hallucinations. The other thing is something called AI bias. Somebody programmed these tools, and when we think of biases, we think of political biases, racial biases. There are all kinds of biases out there. You need to check the output before you use it, before you try to represent what you're saying from a response from that. And I will caution you, the AI tools don't even have to report where they're getting, how they're coming to their conclusions. So think of marketing. Think of a soda provider is helping markets and helping subsidize an AI tool. And if you're going to ask it, is Coke or Pepsi better? It's going to have a bias if Coke is paying the bill and Pepsi isn't. You need to check any of the outputs that you're getting from these AI tools for biases and make sure, especially with high stake issues, legal questions, different things like that. So I know I ran through that. Let's go to the next slide. What questions did we get in chat? So if there's an